After 2 wickets fell in 14 minutes, just before the lunch break, the lunch and tea interval has seen India score 86 runs and Shubman Gill has scored a 50. KL Rahul is looking in solid touch, getting beaten, but yes, he's hung in there. 30 of 93. Deficit is 225. What that has done is, potentially, you are taking it to the fifth day. So you're not going to see the test match end today itself. You're seeing India hang in there. They may not necessarily wipe out the deficit today itself. So maybe, assuming they score another 100 runs more in the session, 110 runs more, they don't lose more than 1-2 wickets. And tomorrow, they could score very quickly and ensure that, okay, you give a session at England. Maybe 1-2 sessions at England. But then that's the problem. You need at least 180-200.
Are you really looking at India, let's say, ending the day at about 160 odd for 2 wickets or at max 3 wickets?
3-4 wickets, yeah.
And then, coming out tomorrow and then scoring at a very faster pace. Do you really think that minus Rishabh Pant, and why I say minus Rishabh Pant, although he is going to bat as and when the team requires him to, but then we all know that he has suffered a fracture. He has suffered a fracture in his toe, and he'll not be at his 100%. Anshul Kamboj is still new to the international arena, so that if you're, let's say, effectively 160 for 4, then you would actually be reduced to
160 for 5.
Yeah, 160 for 5. Then you'll actually be reduced to a couple of established batters. You still think that India can pose a target for England?
See, looking at the way this session...
I don't think so. It's a no for me.
See, this session was important because had you lost 2-3 wickets, you would have been discussing, okay, it's only a matter of time now. How much can India hang in and how much can India assure that, okay, they delay the inevitable. But I think if you bat with the same application, the pitch has got some variable, if you look at it, some bounce, some deliveries are swinging late, some deliveries are kind of keeping low, But still, the pitch is still good to bat on if you get your eye in. Now, India are in a catch-22, firstly, because they have to erase the deficit. I don't think that's happening tonight. It's happening only tomorrow. Then they have to set a target, which is why I feel there is not enough time. If India can escape with, say, scoring 400, but you don't have time. And that is where I think advantage is still very much with England, but the chances of a draw have also kind of given some kind of hopes. See, we are getting way ahead of ourselves. Who knows, in that next session itself, they will lose 8 wickets and test match is done. But looking at the way how it is, I don't see that happening. I think there will be some grit shown by Rahul, in particular, Gill, Jaddu, Sundar, Thakur and Sundar showed it when the conditions were tougher. Now the conditions are slightly brighter. They should make hay while it shines. So another 100, 120 runs more and you lose only 1-2 wickets. Then I think you are in a very good position for tomorrow then. But yes, pushing for a result of a win, loss or a draw, it's still England. Overwhelmingly, it's still England.
Yeah.
But India can think of dreaming.
I think the point is that obviously, we'll discuss a lot more about Shubman Gill's innings, KL Rahul's grit that he has shown. One thing that has really, disappointed me is Yashasvi Jaiswal. I think you talk about the first couple of matches in which he scored 100. There was a 50 also that was there. But overall, if we talk about Yashasvi Jaiswal, the batter in England conditions, I think he has turned out to be a disappointment for India this time around. Because when the going got tough, specifically in the Lord's Test and now in Manchester, he could not really get going, specifically in the second innings. He scored, I think, 50 odd in the first innings, if I'm not wrong.
58, if I'm not mistaken, yeah.
So for Jaiswal, one thing that is really, turning out to be a slight worrying pattern for me is that he is not really grinding it out on a consistent basis when the team really requires him. Now, this was actually a dire situation for India. After conceding a lead of about 311, you needed someone like a Jaiswal to not just go for his shots, but also, grind it out. And when an aggressive batter does that kind of a thing, it adds a layer of unpredictability to his batting, because the opposition would also think, oh, he might attack now, he might attack 2 overs later, 3 overs later, and suddenly after 10 overs, he goes for his shots. something that Rishabh Pant has added to his game, specifically in this England series. For Jaiswal, I think that element of uncertainty is missing, and why it's really happening because he has been inconsistent when it comes to grinding it out, and that's why that 1 for 2, it did look at one point that India were in tatters, and obviously they were. Sai Sudharsan, despite the fact that he's still new to the international arena, I think you still got to blame him for the way he got out. But Shubman Gill, I think one thing that he has done is that he hasn't really allowed that captaincy burden to get over his batting also. He's played with a free mind. One thing that I liked about his batting as of now is, and you can obviously chip in with this, that when it comes to those challenging deliveries, he's playing with pretty much soft hands. I think with one when he was basically invited for a drive by Bryden Cars that was dropped by Liam Dawson at backward point. I think if I leave that particular delivery, I think Shubman Gill has looked maybe 70 to 80% in control.
See, if you look at it, they are targeting his incoming one. You saw Archer do it, you saw Wokes do it. He did have some very close shaves, especially from Wokes. Wokes really troubled him at that stage. So they are continuing to bowl to a plan. They haven't allowed Gill to prosper. But yeah, when Dawson came to the attack, he did prosper against him. So he's overcome the challenges, credit to him, with a very gritty 50 that he's hit. So I think he has shown that yes, he can bounce back. But when you present the situation, I mean, calling that, 46, if you look at it, that drop by Dawson was a tough chance, but you have to take those. In international cricket, you have to take that. It was like when you look at the replay, which they have just shown on cue, the host broadcasters have shown it. I mean, he played away from his body, and you should have taken it. So he's looked okay, tackled the incoming delivery pretty well. But this session will challenge him even further because, see, he's not only aiming to ensure to erase the deficit, he's got to think ahead as well, what he needs to do. Plus, his bowling attack is also not giving him any confidence whatsoever. So, it is still an uphill task. But India have been stabilized kind of with Gill's batting. So, that is one good thing. The fact that what he couldn't do in the first innings, he course corrected immediately in the second innings by kind of surviving against that incoming delivery, speaks volumes about his temperament. So kudos to his batting, and I think if he continues, then India can dream with each and every run that has been played. So I think we can expect something big from Gill, because if you want to silence critics on a tough pitch, this is again technically not a tough pitch. The Indian batters made it look tough in the first innings when you look at it. So it's not technically a tough pitch still. So let's hope that Gill can contribute in a big way in this.
A word on KL Rahul. I think I'll really have to go back to the conversation that he had with Abhishek Nair when Abhishek Nair was one of the assistant coaches of the Indian team before being actually let go. I think you talk about KL Rahul. Abhishek Nair clearly told him that if you have a series of about 400 to 500 odd runs in England, you can consider that you have reached a level wherein you can achieve that consistency in Test cricket, which was clearly
I'll just check
first part of his career. And I think he has, if not 400, I'm sure that KL Rahul has reached about 400 as far as that landmark goes. But he's actually doing what is needed to be done by an opener. He's grinding it out. He is not afraid to look ugly, something that maybe Yashasvi Jaiswal can learn from him. And overall, KL Rahul,
he's gone past 450.
That's great. He could even, if there's an oval test remaining and fitness permitting, he could even finish with 600 odd runs. That's a possibility.
He's gotten 451 runs so far at an average of 64.
That's great. But overall, I think for KL Rahul, that's what I think happens to players who are built on confidence. KL Rahul, we have always said this thing that he's more of a confidence player. You give him the backing and he's going to deliver those results. I always go back to the last decade or so and see being shuffled around multiple times. There were injuries also that happened to him at times when they should not really have happened. Now, keeping all of that aside, KL Rahul, this is a new lease of life that he has gotten in Test cricket. He has been given the backing that, listen, you are going to be your number one opener going forward, irrespective of the conditions. You are going to get a long run here, and he has really delivered.
He has delivered 450 plus runs. And I'll just cross check. I think it is his best ever, if I have to look at it. Most runs in a series: 393 BGT Australia India 2016-17, 299 India and England 2018. There's a combined WTC of 11. Yeah, if you look at it, this is his best series ever. 451 runs and counting. So yes, kudos to KL Rahul, but we knew that in these kind of conditions, he would be your pillar. But then, where was that pillar missing in that second innings at Lords, when that was the moment you needed him the most?
He did get off to a start although, but could not really convert it. Yeah,
not really converted. So that's why I see 86 for 2, still trailing by 2 to 5. Lots and lots of work still needs to be done. But at least you are not ending it today. You are going into day 5.
That's what at least it looks like.
It looks like at this point in time. So it's been a good session. I think after a long time, India finally dominated one session in this test match. And it's overwhelmingly been England. But yes, 5-2 in this series. If you look at sessions so far, you now are into the business end of this test match, wherein you have only 4 sessions remaining. And with one session predicted of rain tomorrow, let's see how that goes. So let's take some comments. Okay, England may take it too casually, overconfident. I know nothing.
I don't think so that England would take it too casually.
Yeah.
I think there is also one of the things that's possible here is that the ball gets softer and it gets easy to bat on. And maybe, that's where Gill and Rahul have been aided by that particular factor. But then, with England, we have seen what they did in the second innings at Lords. Almost all their bowlers were breathing fire, led by Bryden Cast. There was Jofra Archer also. Ben Stokes was obviously their best bowler in that particular match. In fact, he has been their best bowler in the series so far. So, don't think England would take it casually. One thing that England would be targeting is that if they obviously cannot finish the match by today, then if they restrict India to about 3 or 4 wickets at the end of day's play, I think if you ask me, and even if the score is about 170 odd, the team that still would be high on confidence is England.
Yep. Suyash Rajendra Tiwari from the US is very disappointed with the way how this Asia Cup thing has happened. This helps Pakistan and profits the broadcaster. That's what he's saying.
We have discussed at length about it. I'm sure, there's one of the videos that that's also, uploaded on Sports Today. You can check that out. And we clearly say that, a lot of times as journalists, we have been targeted by a particular thing, that as to why do you cover such kind of a stuff when you know that something off the field has happened that does not really go down well with the India as a country. There have been terror attacks and all these things. But then and obviously, people are entitled to an opinion. But you look at the way how things have gone off the field here from the government, and if they give the Indian cricket team a nod to play in the Asia Cup, I think then we clearly know who is to be blamed for it, who is to be answerable for it, because of what happened in May. There were soldiers who were fighting it out at the border. I'm not really sure what to say much about it.
Governments don't care. Governments will never care. Simple. And it is boosted by a mentality that people have. Keep sports away from politics. It is this poison that has infiltrated into our very thinking. And there will be people who will be celebrating this. Let's make no mistake. Your one move, Suyash Rajendra Tiwari, is not enough. What will 1,000 among a billion achieve? Which is why the fury, the misguided fury that is often targeted at us, do you have the guts to target it towards the decision makers, the ultimate decision makers, who put us in this kind of a situation? We do what we have to do. But it's no use shooting the messenger. You have to ensure that the guy who gets it, the guy who sends us the message, they need to be taken to task, not us. But yes, this will play out in September, and I am sorry to say that I will not enjoy it. I am really not going to enjoy anything related with Indian cricket at this point in time. I'm not going to enjoy anything with Indian stakeholders and Indian entities, because Pahalgam was the final nail in the coffin for me as far as wanting to love anything about Indian sports is concerned. And I said there was a litmus test, September 5, September it's going to be a litmus test. You will fail in the litmus test. And we as a nation now, honestly, I'm telling you, stop taking yourself seriously. We don't take ourselves seriously at all. That's why these kind of shenanigans like the Asia Cup will be played out. Why? Because it is a garb of people power. People want India, Pakistan. Let's cater to them. And one piecemeal move of a Legends Championship, it's not happening. That is the thing. So, just a hypothetical question. Chandra is saying, somehow manages to draw will critics and people criticize Stokes and team are making it too long. I know it's far from be reached, but just a question. No. Why don't you then highlight the grit of the Indian team? Why don't you highlight the grit that they showed? Okay, they delayed it. And see, 669, you want to back the opposition out. And they have done it. 311 runs. You would want 9 out of 10 times for the team to ensure they win.
Stokes and company, they did what best they could.
Yep. But Priyanshu was saying, then Sai and Jaiswal did huge blunder. Pitch is very good to bat. And biggest thing is Stokes is not bowling till now.
Yeah, absolutely. And
no, I think Stokes has that injury concern. Priyanshu Stokes has an injury concern, and that is why I think he may not want to bowl himself for far too long. So
he will bowl, but I think there's going to be very short bursts of spells.
Yeah, that's a big issue. So that is why it is not going to be easy. As long as Kevin John Abraham is saying, as long as Ben Stokes doesn't bowl much, India has a hope to draw with some weather around tomorrow. But even that weather is very...
Yeah, that's like very fickle weather. Yeah. That's the thing with English weather that we have seen this season. There hasn't been, much of rain at all.
Exactly. So yes, we are now going to go into the final session.
What's your prediction?
India score 100 runs, but they are losing 2 wickets.
Okay. Another 80 odd runs for me, which means that 165 to 170, and India losing 3 wickets.
Yeah, it is, but knowledge is India's game to win. Wow, very optimistic, very, very optimistic about it. I think that's about it. Let's join you back for the lengthy post-match debate. That's going to happen. And at that time, if there are people who don't understand, like Mr. Creator, who doesn't understand how this system works, maybe one day, Mr. Creator, if you can give your real name, then we can tell you what kind of a country and a system you live in. It's easy sitting in a keyboard and just typing it out with say, people will criticize the BCN government. No, they won't. I'll tell you why. Because despite that, Asia Cup will still go on. That's the thing. So that's how. So England is going to lose. You need a big...
knowledge.
So if you get 500 and you bowl England out in one session, that might happen. That could happen.
That's going to be, 30 hours of hell.
But we are still way too much into this. So let's see how it pans out. So we'll join you back for the post-match. Bye-bye. See you soon.